Thank you for this kind invite. It is a pleasure of having for today's session 5 amazing personalities from the European AI landscape. So I will start with our first colleague, which is Sonia Zillner. Sonia comes with a background in mathematics, and she covers both the academic spectrum, being professor at Technical University in Munich, and also acting as principal expert at Siemens Technology. Next in line, we have a different background, which makes the beauty of this session. We have a strategic background coming from Elisa Gaway, which is Senior Strategy and Innovation Officer at EUWhite Foundation. Elisa, can you hear us? Yeah, I think we have Elisa here. So Elisa, it is one of the important pillars of the AI strategy also, because she contributed to the creation of the DIHs and defining the EG AI strategy and liaising with the important Artificial Intelligence for Europe initiative. Next in line, we have Françoise Sully-Fogelman, which has more than 40 years of experience in both academy and industry. She's scientific advisor, amongst others, at the hub France AI. She is also, as Eva, that we'll see later, one of the members of the high-level expert group of the European Commission on AI. Françoise has also the co-chairing role of the working group on innovation commercialization for the Global Partnership on AI, an important initiative we need to keep an eye on. She has more than 150 publications and 30 books, so amazing careers. As mentioned, we have amazing profiles amongst us. Next in line, we have an industry representative. Eva Martin-Kneiter comes with a background with a PhD in strategic management, so we have again strategy on the line. And Eva also provides an example that AI can be on the board, because Eva has a board, it is a board member at Telenor Denmark. So we have another important profile. Of course, Eva is leading a team of data analysts and scientists, and she will share also how she creates the link between public and private initiatives, keeping research in line. Last but not least, we have Annika Link, which is policy manager at the European Digital SME Alliance. This is an association really important for SMEs, for small and medium enterprises in the digital sector. I would like to thank especially Annika, as I know she was not feeling really well, but she still joined. Even in this condition, she's here with us to share and support SMEs leverage AI. Thank you, Annika, for this kind participation, important. Annika is coordinating the focus group on artificial intelligence, and the working group is providing also the opportunity to SMEs to voice their concern and provide feedback to all policy initiatives. I will let Annika, she will introduce more details on that. Among other, let's say, important points that I retain from Annika's CV, I see here that it's not only a focus on policy, because she also relies on excellent research and organizational skills. We have initiatives and policy for SMEs, but how to make them real and tangible for SMEs, that requires all these skills. So our session today, it will be an exchange with the amazing guests that we have today. And this exchange should enable SMEs to find their tangible points they could use, to learn from the experience of our speakers, and also to see they have not only challenges, all our speakers passed through challenges in order to adopt AI and in order to leverage AI not only for their own institutions, but also for SMEs in general. And they will see what are the lessons learned also from national initiatives like Françoise on the France example. Another important point that I would like to emphasize during this exchange will be the importance of this platform we have available, Artificial Intelligence for Europe. This is a concrete tool. How to leverage that? There are several pillars. There is cloud, there is data, and then how to partner, strategically partner from an SME to a corporate. How to find what are the strengths of the platforms and how to navigate it easier. Without further ado, I will pass the floor to my co-speakers in order to introduce themselves, as I provided only 2 lines from their impressive CVs. And I would like also to let them the opportunity to share their perspective, their own perspective, individual perspective, so that in the end, we can exchange and see what are the common points. The first one in line will be Sonja Zillner, which is principal expert at Siemens Technology. Sonja, the floor is yours.
Emilia, thanks a lot for introducing me, and thanks a lot for inviting me here. And it's really a pleasure, so many women on stage, and to discuss now this important topic with all of you. So you might know from my CV that I'm not an SME, so I'm coming from a large corporate. And so how would I know what SMEs need? So this is the first question I would like to tackle on. The point is, when we look at, when we think about adoption of AI, this is not only difficult for SMEs, right? This is difficult for all organizations. And I mean that this is also difficult for Siemens. So we have a lot of challenges we need to address. And so I think it's a general thing. I mean, the point is at the first thing is that you need to have the expertise in AI. The expertise in AI needs to combine with domain knowledge so that we can leverage it. We need to get access to the data, right? I mean, industry data, it comes from legacy system. This is quite complicated. We need to label it. So this is costly. Then we want to share it. We need to have a partner. This is difficult. Quite often we need to transform the organization or processes. This is central. I mean, you have an idea, but then a big changes are coming. This can be on our side, but this can be also on the customer side. Technology is a fourth point. Technology is needed to ensure that we have really like trustworthy, reliable technology. So we need to ensure that the AI applications come with the same requirements than we are used to have in industry. Then we have additional costs when we want to deploy the system. So it's about the edge infrastructure, it's about security requirements, it's about connectivity, and all these have to fulfill the industrial standards, right? Last but not least, I would highlight the business opportunities. Actually, this is a very astonishing part for us because when we started the AI project some years ago, we did them a lot bottom up. We are now learning that promising business opportunities might not have the expected return of investment. This is due to the fact that many costs are not incorporated at the very beginning, and maybe we cannot scale the AI, and maybe our customer thinks this is really cool, but the costs on the customer side have not been incorporated in the business plan. So what I want to highlight that in general, the uptake of AI is challenging. So there are a lot of things to do. And I think that the difference between the SME and maybe now from my perspective coming from a large corporate is that we are having a lot of support inside the organization. So we have like a strategy department, we have like can do visioning workshops, we have the AI experts, we have like the experts on the various levels. So the first message I would like to convey is that what we are facing as challenges is true for all organizations. So AI is a really complex topic. And the SMEs are very central. I think this has also mentioned, I mean, throughout the state today. This is on the one side because they are so important for the GDP. We have a high number of SMEs, so there are many. So it's like our economy is based on SMEs. From the perspective of Siemens, SMEs are very central because SMEs are our customers sometimes or our suppliers. If we advance in the ecosystem in our products, as these industrial products are rather complex, we need to do this together, right? I mean, we need to ensure that the products or the offering, the components we are integrating of our partners have the same level of quality than we need for the overall system. So for that reason, to work with SMEs is very central. And I have to say, we will talk about this later, the offerings of the AI4EU platform. I mean, we heard it throughout the day. It's about skills, it's about funding, it's about access to data, it's about access to AI assets, to experts, and it's very, very central to organize. What I think it's last point I would like to mention that very often when you start a project is the unknown unknowns. So basically, so this is probably true for the SMEs and also in organizations. You started, but you do not know what you not know. And this is basically the difficulty, or like, so to say, often the problem what we are facing, because the person who's scoping the project might not have the full understanding of it. And for that reason, I think to do projects is very central, because then you can explore it. So now I know that I contradict myself. So you need to do projects to explore. Also, you're not knowing at the beginning. And the other point is you need to incorporate as much perspectives as possible. So the strategy, the technology, the customer, and. So basically to have it at the end. Most importantly, combining the AI expertise and the business perspective. So this is something what we need to bridge in order to incorporate. So this is my initial statement to start the discussion.
Thank you, Sonia. It was really insightful. I already took note of two important insights that you provided. The SMEs can position themselves as consumers, but they can position themselves as suppliers for a big corporate. So that will help them, first of all, identify the role they will take. And I also took note of one possible solution to compensate the support points which inside the corporate you have. They could leverage AI4EU in order to search for the skills and for all the instruments that a corporate has and the SMEs do not have. Really insightful. Thank you. I will pass next to Elisa. Elisa, we are eager to hear your perspective. Elisa.
Thank you very much. My name is Elisa Gaway. I work as a Senior Strategy and Innovation Officer at EGI Foundation. Well, EGI Foundation is a non-for-profit organization that coordinates the computing and data services in Europe through a federation that is managed or is composed by 21 countries from Europe, and with more than 200 providers for different computing resources and 22 providers of cloud compute. And we offer services to more than 75 researchers in Europe. As you can see, these are some of the fields where we offer services. In this case, most of them are related to medical and health science, also high energy physics, earth and environmental science, and astronomy and other areas related to physics. There are also some other spaces for researchers to participate here. But now what we really want to do is to provide these communities with AI tools and also to support industry on the AI uptake. So for this, we are developing our AI service strategy. And the main strategic objectives are to make the EUWhite platform AI and machine learning ready, and also to lower barriers to entry for researchers using AI and machine learning. And specifically in the areas of work, consider to provide adequate resources to deploy the algorithms and platforms. This means storage and mainly computing, and also the necessary training to use the resources. Another key point is to promote the building of GPU capacity, but this is something that, of course, relies also on the funding strategy of the different countries and the different entities. And we just want to collaborate with the members on offering a wide set of AI and machine learning assets, and this means data sets, model algorithms, and so. And at the same time, we have created a group of experts at TGI working on AI and machine learning, a type of competence center to define and to guide on this AI strategy. When we consider EUWhite typically operates as a negotiator between the project or community representative and the different providers of the services, of the storage, of the cloud, and also training and support. And what we do is to negotiate the conditions and the requirements between the parts, and for this we also sign a type of agreement to guarantee that the requirements and conditions are achieved, and everybody can have a success collaboration and is happy with the other side. This is a collection of the projects and the fields where we operate. And I would like to emphasize those projects where we are collaborating with companies working also with AI, big data, analytics, and related technologies. The first one will be EGIAs, that is closer to research, but we have also some companies working there with running pilots and getting the technical support. Also, we have the UHubs for data and the Stairway that are closer to the innovation on AI. But also we are offering services for energy and manufacturing in the VD for energy and DigiTrain projects. And finally, also in the AI for public policy, that is a project for data-driven decision-making in the public sector. So, in fact, it was the projects, the open calls to onboard companies in innovation projects was the first or the initial way that we had in the past to onboard companies on using the EGI services. But right now we are trying to materialize all of these collaborations and the services that we are offering through a digital innovation hub, that is the EUWhite. And the main pillars here are like the classical 4 pillars that they are recommended by the European Commission, that is the test before investing, and in our case, the technologies focus on HPC and cloud resources, artificial intelligence, and machine learning training model tools, and also offering some consultancy. We offer also training and the support for development of digital skills. And we support also companies in finding funding opportunities and investments, and in creating a community and a networking, because we operate at a global level. We have something different to other DIHs, that we are not regional, because EGI is a European entity, and this means that instead of focusing on the EDIHs, we are going to put more of the focus on the collaboration and in the corridors that the European DIHs are going to establish to improve the collaboration between the DIHs. And this is the main approach that we could share with you. And well, happy to discuss further opportunities in the future. Here you have my contacts, and well, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elisa. Another important perspective. You mentioned the training aspect. You mentioned the competence center. You mentioned the importance of the cloud and of the supporting SMEs to embark in a cloud journey. You mentioned that you have AI and ML assets, and we'll discuss a bit on the questions. What are these assets, and how do we define concrete assets for SMEs? Thank you, Elisa. Again, we are building up really important points for SMEs. I really have for that. So next in line will be Françoise. Françoise, you will cover both academia, industry, but also the SME world. You come from Hub Francis AI, so you have all the spectrum. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Emilia. I just put up in the chat 3 links, which is basically what I'm going to talk about. So number one, I the scientific advisor to Hub France AI, and basically Hub France AI is an association where companies come. We have mostly essentially members who are companies, and these companies typically are large group or also startups. This is what our members, and they come to us because they have started working on AI usually. They are not completely unaware of AI, they are aware, we call them. And what they want is to basically come and speed up. They want to us because they want to talk with their peers, they want to exchange ideas, to exchange good practices. They want also to sometimes join forces to make project proposals. Like, for example, today, right now, our director is defending 8 projects at BPI, the French organism to fund initiatives. So basically, I would say the main thing for us at Hub France AI is not much talk, right, but action. That is to say, we want to do things. So we tend to not speak much. We tend to make things happen. In particular, I'm focusing here on 2 actions. The first one is PAC AI, or PAC IA, because we're speaking French in this country. So PAC IA is an initiative from the region. Basically, the ideas was, it was launched about long ago now, 2 years ago, to address the needs of the SMEs in AI and see how we could accelerate them again. So we will talk probably more about that. We have been running this program these last 2 years with COVID, which basically was a killer for our project, not only for our project, but was really very hard. And to tell you how hard this is, it means that in 2 years, we've been able to achieve 21 projects, right? So this is how hard it is. It's not hard to do a project. It's hard to find and motivate an SME to do it. And I can come back on that. There are many ways which such a process can go wrong. So when we work with these SMEs, basically we tend to do it in such a way that the project will be a success. So we have achieved in the first period 21 projects. One of them was a failure, and this happened this morning, so I'm very depressed. Since then, we have started 10 new projects. This year, we're going to run 60 projects, and next year, 100. So 60 in 2022 and 100 in 2023. So this is our activity. These projects usually are done either with relatively large AI service companies or by startups. So it's also we have a lot of startups as members of our group, our institution, and I've put the link to AI Startups, which is an initiative that we are running with Germany and Sweden to basically build a cartography of startups. So it means that we meet them, we talk with them, we analyze what they're doing, and we make sure everybody knows what AI washing is, right? We make sure that the startup we have in front is not a startup with a nice website and nothing behind. We make sure that the startup is actually capable of delivering a project real with AI inside, which is done, you know, state of the art. And this is a big piece of the work of working with SMEs. You cannot expect an SME to fail their first project. That's just not going to happen. And the last topic, I didn't put a link to that, but this is the GPI site that you were mentioning before. I will try to find a link to GPI. GPI is an initiative basically worldwide. That is to say, we have members from 25 countries at the present time, where I'm co-chairing the innovation and commercialization working group with a focus on SMEs, which means that in this we are making projects which are delivering results. And last year or this year, which is ending now, we've built up a platform for handling projects with SMEs. How do we do that? So we've done that, and next year we are going to verticalize, if you want, this platform for agriculture, farming industry. So practical projects, they are described on the site. I'm not sure you have the right link here. There was a conference. Yes, this was in English, so you will not like it. This one is better, where you will see the reports and the various things that we've done. So here it's basically GPI is interesting to me, you know, to see how the views that we hold as obvious in Europe can be very different looked from Mexico, Brazil, Japan, Singapore. So the view from outside is extremely interesting to, you know, to watch and to see how we can collaborate together. For example, some of the results we're presenting on this site, in particular the platform we built, come a lot from Singapore. Some countries are more advanced. Many of the issues are common, not all of them. So getting insight from outside of France, outside of Europe, but from the world is really interesting. Also, when we are talking about the platform I was talking about for SMEs, the idea that we are building upon expertise coming from all over the place, from success stories from all over the place, from mistakes which were done somewhere else, gives us also the capacity to go faster and also to deploy very widely. That is to say, if we succeed in building a platform which is adopted in 25 countries in initiatives on SMEs, this is going to really build up the idea. I can talk about how you maintain such a thing later if you want, which is related to AI4EU. Thank you.
Thank you, Françoise. Another important lessons. For SMEs, AI projects can be perceived as a risk because a project will involve many of the resources available in an SME. So this is a high risk. One way to mitigate this risk is partner with national initiatives as yours So partner with Hub France AI, you are reducing risk. This is one part you can embark as an SME in your strategy. And of course, there are many challenges, and then you need to verticalize and you need to be specialized, have the expertise for your area. This is something that it needs to come from the SMEs. Thank you, Françoise, and we'd like to hear more from you after we pass to Eva. So Eva, you come with a, let's say, with a strategic background. As we mentioned at the beginning, you have the strategic management layer. And would be really interested to hear your perspective and add to the already important takeaways we have. The floor is yours, Eva.
Thank you, Emilia. So first of all, I have to say that I come from a corporate, and talking about SMEs is going to be a bit challenging, but I will try my best. So first of all, I have to say that that SMEs in Europe do not differ that much in terms of their maturity with large corporates. And here I agree with Sonia that we in the large corporate world, we have very similar challenges. And what we have learned in Telenor over the past 5 years, that we were too optimistic. We thought that the adoption of AI technology is going to be easier. But it is not. And what we learned, the biggest challenges for us is of organizational nature. This is not a matter of technology, as we say. Of course, the technology needs to be there. The data pipelines need to be in place. The most, modern tools need to be in place. But the biggest challenge we are facing is the scalability of that. And that has to do with how are we organized? How do we really fight our legacy systems, which in many respects, I believe SMEs do not have that challenge. So sometimes I would say that SMEs, some of the technology SMEs perhaps are more mature than the big companies. That is my kind of take. And I have to say that sometimes I'm a bit surprised that, well, I know that SMEs are important, but I want also to stress that the large corporates both act as a demand market and a supply market for SMEs, and they also have the same challenges. And I have to say that this is also important to mention and to stress also to the Commission that, we also have to take the same bit of challenges and as the SMEs do. Nevertheless, since the topic is about SMEs, I would start by saying that there are 3 challenges I see from the corporate world. Number 1, SMEs struggle with access to investment, and both for public and private funding. What I think is important here is on investment is that global companies like Telenor, SAP, Siemens, ABB are potential demand markets for AI solutions. So in order to get there, I would challenge SMEs, especially technology SMEs, to be more research hungry. And what I mean by that, they should spend some of their resources to actually collaborating with big public-private entities in joint EU applications for research and innovations. For example, those that will be built on AI on demand platform. Why am I saying that? Because large corporates are always looking for innovative solutions. They know their problems, they have their data, they still struggle to get it accessible, but they also participate in those large EU projects. And that's a chance for SMEs to collaborate by coming together, right? Very often SMEs want just to deliver, but I would challenge that the way to collaborate with corporate is to be early. Number 2, beyond this investment, what SMEs really need, data and problems. I've heard also today that it's very challenging to understand the value of AI. And to me, the very first question I ask is, what is the problem to solve? That is important for SMEs and important for large companies to identify the problems and actually place those problems in, for example, AI on demand market. Why can't we have a problem space that actually be accessible for SMEs, and not only, but retrain data sets, reference data sets where Europe has an advantage. And we also learned in this project that, we know that 80% of our time of data scientists and machine learning engineers is spent on cleaning, curating data. Can AI on demand platform solve some of these challenges for SMEs? Can we place those clean, curated, accessible data sets with problems? And beyond those, the large corporates, public sector, that is accessible. I think that is a very important dimension. And the third, skills and talent. You will not be able to access any of AI resources on AI on demand platform, on national initiatives, if you don't have people who are able to access it. And I'm not saying this is a challenge for SMEs. This is also a challenge for large companies like Telenor. So I would challenge also us to invest frantically a lot into building skills. And skills is not only about, building data science skills. AI is a very transversal topic. We need social scientists with programming skills. We need, economists with ability to do programming in Python and open source tools. And we also need to teach our programmers, both in SMEs, but also in large companies, to understand social implications of the code that they are building. So in a nutshell, I would say that, well, let's not forget that the challenges in uptaking AI are in SME markets, but also are in corporates. The way to tackle this is to collaborate in early stage research and innovation projects. We, for example, in Telenor, also are struggling to learn how to collaborate with small companies because we're not used to. We're used to large equipment vendors. We're used with large public government agencies. It's an opportunity for us also to tap in and tap into the SME markets and learn together. So that will be my short intro, Emilia, and thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you, Eva. So again, we add to our perspective. We have 3 challenges from Eva. So Eva mentioned the investment challenge, and it mentioned also a solution for that, because you can partner with corporates, so you do not wait for the investment, but you build together with corporates your business case, and also that gives you access to research. There are European platforms, European funding potentially, which is available. Second, I took note of the challenge of having access to data, relevant data sets, which are clean, curated, and which have relevant contextual information. This is really important, and we'll come back to that. And the third one, as mentioned by Sonia, we have the skills and talent part. We need to ensure that we have the skills. Artificial Intelligence for Europe, AI4EU, offers this platform of exchange where we can access talent. So already provides some of these answers, potentially also to the second challenge of the data. Thank you, Eva. Really important insights. So we add up to what we had as takeaways so far. And last but not least, I will go to Annika, which is representing the European Digital SME Alliance. More than 45,000 SMEs, if I remember well. Annika, the floor is yours.
Hello, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you very much, Emilia. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all the other panelists and also to all the participants for being with us this afternoon. It's been very, very interesting to hear what everyone has been saying so far. I heard a lot of things that we at Digital SME are aware of as well, but also some things that are very new to me. So, or that maybe bring again a perspective that I was not as familiar with. So I wanted to share a couple of slides, if that's fine for the organizers.
I think we see, yeah, all perfect.
Yeah. So Emilia already explained that Digital SME is a business association of more than 40,000 SMEs from across Europe. What is special about us is actually that we're representing SMEs from the ICT sector. So our companies are the ones that are providing ICT solutions. We have companies that develop cybersecurity solutions, but also those that develop AI-based technologies. So some of them working, for instance, with image and natural language processing, but also offering data analysis and data intelligence solutions. But I also wanted to talk a little bit in general about the SME ecosystem in Europe, because this was also mentioned by previous speakers. So if we look at the overall SME ecosystem, we have 25 million SMEs in Europe. And out of those 25 million, we have 4%, according to EU statistics, that are actually in the ICT sector. So in principle, those companies are digital solution providers. And I think when we talk about the uptake of AI, but also digital technologies in general among SMEs, it's really important to also keep that in mind, that we have these different clusters of SMEs, and that some of them are more advanced in terms of their the adoption of digital technologies, and others are less advanced. But that really our approach needs to be different when it comes to these different levels of maturity. So the companies we represent are, of course, providers of technology. So as was mentioned before, not only large companies can be providers, but also the small ones. But then you also have those that are maybe not as much, not as digital yet. So yeah, that just a little contribution on that. I wanted to talk a little bit about our focus group AI that Emilia had mentioned before. So we launched this group 1.5 years ago together with the European Commission Joint Research Center as an activity to actually better understand the uptake of AI in SMEs. We started with a group of 40 companies. Now we are over 100. We are around 130 or even more companies that are member of this group. As you can see, they have different activities. Yeah, but everything AI. I mean, it always depends a bit on the definition, but yeah, many of them doing some of them doing predictive analytics, natural language processing, some working in the area of smart cities and so forth. And these companies, we had asked them what would be, in their opinion, barriers to AI adoption. And it's quite interesting because many of the things that were mentioned were also in this panel were also mentioned by the SMEs in our focus group. So we heard about the problems finding talent, maybe a lack of access to data, but also maybe a lack of financing. And on the other hand, when we look at the uptake of AI in the non-digital SME group, so the customers of these AI innovators, those SMEs are usually interested in improving predictions, supporting decision-making, and optimizing internal resources. So you have the pull factors from the market, but also then some barriers that were identified by the group. And what is also interesting, because it was also mentioned, one of the main drivers of innovation identified by the group was also internal R&D. But I also, from other experiences, I would also agree that being involved in like EU projects, but also just being connected to to different other stakeholders is really important also for for driving innovation in the SMEs, but also bringing that to the market. If we look a bit more really into the application fields, you can see here that the customers of the SMEs that were part of this study, they're really interested in these areas: machine learning, computer vision, business intelligence. So this is also just a little more illustration of what are these drivers for the uptake, what SMEs in the market then are actually interested in, why they would want to adopt AI solutions. And this was also again reiterated in an EUWhite enterprise survey that went beyond the survey that we did with our members, but the findings are quite similar here. It's divided into internal barriers and external barriers, but again, you have the mention of finding people with the right skills, costs of adoption actually, which is also an internal barrier, and then the cost of adapting operational processes. I think I wanted to just close on this slide, which refers back to the first point that I made. If you look at the different levels of maturity of businesses in terms of digital maturity, it's when you look at a digital innovation process, I think it's important also to note that SMEs need to really think about their core business activity, but then also try to adopt the solutions that can really help them to create additional value. So sometimes now during COVID, it was often mentioned that companies had gone digital, but maybe all they did was that they adopted online collaboration tools, or maybe tools like using Zoom, etc. But for us, that is not like real. This is not digitalization, but you really have to apply technologies that can really help you to create more value for your business and for your customers as well. Yeah, and I'm going to close with that, and very happy to engage more in the discussion.
Thank you, Annika. In fact, this really roundly concluded this initial part of our exchange, which was the main part, because you provided a current proof for the studies that you conducted on the conclusions that industry players like Eva and Sonia already had in an intuitive manner. But we see that this is really supported by solid proof. Thank you, Roberta. So I will just try to be quick there. I would like to thank all my speakers, because without voicing the real questions, the questions got the answers. What are these pillars? So we covered cloud, data, we covered skills, and we covered how AI for Europe could provide all these layers. So I would like to thank all of my speakers. Maybe they would like to have an end word, so I will give the floor to them. And I would like to thank Europe and the European Commission for enabling this kind of platform for SMEs. We see it's needed, and now we have it. We need to make use of it. Thank you, Roberta. If the other speakers would like to add something, if not, I would just pass it to you.